If you're shopping for a beginner sport bike in 2026, I guarantee you're also stuck in the same loop every new rider gets stuck in. You open 10 tabs: Ninja 400, Ninja 500, R3, CBR 500R, GSX 8R, and now this thing, the Ninja 500 SE ABS. And every single comment section is screaming something different at you. Buy the base model, save your money. The SE is a scam, it's just paint. 450 cc's isn't enough, you'll outgrow it in 6 months. Get the bigger bike or you'll regret it. And meanwhile, you've got $7 grand sitting in your bank account and you're terrified of making the wrong call, because this isn't just a bike. For most of you, this is your first bike, the one that's supposed to teach you how to ride, get you to work every day, survive the highway, and not make you feel like an idiot 6 months from now when your buddy upgrades to a leader bike and you're still on a starter 451cc twin. So here's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm not going to read you a spec sheet and call it a review. I've actually spent real time on this exact bike, the 2026 Ninja 500 SE ABS, in city traffic, on the highway, at full throttle, and just sitting on it comparing it directly to the base Ninja 500 ABS that costs about $500 less. By the end of this video, you're going to know 3 things for certain. 1. Is 451 cc's and 51 horsepower actually enough for a daily rider in America, including highway commutes? 2. Is the SE package, the TFT screen, the keyless ignition, the USB-C port actually worth the extra money, or is it just marketing? And 3. Where does this bike fall apart? Because every bike has a weak point, and I'm going to show you exactly where this one is before you spend your money, not after. Let's start with the engine, because that's what everyone's actually scared of. This is a 451cc liquid-cooled parallel twin, double overhead cam, 8 valves, and Kawasaki tuned it to put out 51 horsepower at 10,000 RPM and just under 32 pound-feet of torque around 7,500 RPM. Now, on paper, that sounds small if you're coming from a car mindset, but here's the proof that actually matters. This bike weighs 381.5 pounds wet. That's lighter than most of its direct competitors, so you're not moving a heavy bike with a small engine, you're moving a light bike with a perfectly matched engine, and that ratio is what makes this thing feel quick in the real world, even though the number 51 looks small on a screen. On the highway, rolling on the throttle from 65 to pass at 80, this bike pulls clean. No hesitation, no gasping for breath. That's the torque curve doing its job. Could a bigger bike do it easier? Sure, but for a daily rider doing a 30 or 40-mile commute with some highway stretches, this engine is not the bottleneck people online make it out to be. Now let's talk about the clutch, because this is something almost nobody mentions and it's actually a big deal for new riders. This bike comes with an assist and slipper clutch. What that means in plain English is 2 things. First, the clutch lever is noticeably lighter to pull, which matters a lot in stop-and-go city traffic where you're pulling that lever 100 times an hour. Second, if you panic and downshift too aggressively, which every new rider does at some point, the slipper function prevents the rear wheel from locking up and hopping. That's a safety feature most beginner bikes in this price range simply don't have, and Kawasaki gave it to you standard. Now here's where we get into the actual SE part, because this is the question you're really here for. Is the SE trim worth the extra money over the base Ninja 500 ABS? The base bike runs somewhere around $5,800 to $6,000 before destination charge. This SE model lists at $6,499 plus the $650 destination charge, so you're looking at around $7,150 out the door before tax. For that difference, here's exactly what you get. A full-color TFT instrument display, which is genuinely useful. At night, in direct sunlight, it stays readable, and that matters more than you think when you're new and you need to glance at your speed quickly. You also get Kawasaki's Rideology app connectivity, so your phone pairs to the dash and you can see notifications, track your ride data, and even get a riding log. Useful if you're the type who wants to track your own progress as a new rider. Then there's KIPASS, Kawasaki's keyless ignition system. You don't insert a key, the bike senses a fob in your pocket. Honestly, the first time you use it, it feels like a small luxury upgrade, and on a budget bike, that's not nothing. And finally, a USB-C port built into the cockpit, so your phone charges while it's mounted, which on a long ride is the difference between your GPS dying at hour 2 or lasting the whole trip. Add to that the exclusive SE colorways, the lime green, the metallic yellowish green and ebony, the twilight blue and persimmon red. These colors are not available on the base model, period. So is it worth it? Here's my honest take based on actually using both. If you ride mostly during the day, don't care about phone charging, and you're trying to save every dollar, the base Ninja 500 ABS is a fantastic bike, and you won't feel like you're missing much. But if you commute, if you ride at night even occasionally, if you use your phone for navigation, that TFT screen and that USB-C port alone make the SE worth the price gap for me. The keyless system is a nice to have, not a must-have, but once you use it for a week, going back to a regular key feels like a downgrade. Now let's talk about seat height and ergonomics, because this is where a lot of you are going to either fall in love with this bike or walk away. The seat sits at just under 31 inches, which Kawasaki specifically tuned for accessibility. Shorter riders, including a lot of women and new riders under 5'6", can get both feet flat on the ground at a stop. That confidence at a standstill is honestly underrated. It's one less thing in your head when you're learning. For taller riders, 6 feet and up, the riding position is still upright and comfortable for commuting, but on longer highway stretches past an hour, you'll start feeling it in your wrists a bit more than on a fully upright standard bike. That's just the nature of a sport bike posture, even a relaxed one. Fuel tank is 3.7 gallons. In real-world mixed riding, that's giving you a range that lets you go a couple days of commuting without thinking about gas, or a solid weekend ride before you need to fill up. And because this engine isn't straining to make power, fuel efficiency stays on the better side of this entire class. So let's bring this back to the real question. Does this bike actually solve the problem we started with? If your worry was, will I outgrow this in 6 months, I'll be straight with you. This bike is built to be a 1 to 3 year bike for most riders, maybe longer if you're not chasing track days. That's not a flaw. That's exactly what a 451cc twin in this weight class is designed for. It's a stepping stone that doesn't feel like a punishment while you're on it. If your worry was, is 51 horsepower going to embarrass me on the highway? Based on what I felt rolling on at 80, the answer is no, not for daily American highway speeds. And if your worry was, is the SE trim just a paint job? Now you know exactly what you're paying for and whether it matters to your specific riding. But here's the thing, there's one number related to this bike that I haven't told you yet, and it's the number that actually decides whether this bike beats its 2 biggest rivals in this price range, or loses to both of them. I tested all 3 back-to-back, on the same road, same conditions, and the result genuinely surprised me because it wasn't the bike I expected to win. That full head-to-head comparison is coming in the next video, so if you don't want to miss which one of these 3 beginner sport bikes actually comes out on top, make sure you're subscribed because that result is going to change what a lot of you buy next month.